Application forms for sharing accommodations must be completed 2 months in advance.
Mic check 1 2 3. Mic check 1 2 3. Hello, my name is Pramod and I am doing this test for my practice. I am very happy to give this test today. The audio, which includes more than 1,000 separate data files, was captured in the early 1970s by the late Hattie Van D. Rizd. By the late Hattie Van Dizit. Late Hattie Van D. Rizd. She recorded the various screams, barks, and howl calls made by a group of chimps, including 17 youngsters living in the Gombe National Park in Tanzania. The audio, which includes more than 1,000 separate data files, was captured in the early 1970s by the late Hattie Van de Rijst. She recorded the various screams, barks, and howl calls made by a group of chimps, including 17 youngsters living in the Gombe National Park in Tanzania. The United States is at present the world's market for motor cars and trucks. An agent for the US Bureau of Foreign and Domestic Commerce reports a prosperous condition of affairs prevailing in Japan, which is buying more automobiles, especially large cars, than ever before. The United States is at present the world's market for motor cars and trucks. An agent for the US Bureau of Foreign and Domestic Commerce reports a prosperous condition of affairs prevailing in Japan, which is buying more automobiles, especially large cars, than ever before. There is a tendency, especially in the popular press, to concentrate on the negative effects of immigration. In that context, this lecture listing the benefits it brings to more developed nations is much more welcome. Also, it is delivered in a lively and amusing style. There is a tendency. There is a tendency, especially in the popular press, to concentrate on the negative effects of immigration. In that context, this lecture listing the benefits it brings to more developed nations is much more welcome. Also, it is delivered in a lively and amusing style. Australians speak English, of course, but for many tourists and even some locals, Australian English has only 10 years links with mother tongue. Our speech is prepared with words and phrases whose arcane meanings are understood only by the initiate. It is this colorful colloquialism colloquialism that Australian slang said to truly explain. Colloquialism. Australians speak English, of course, but for many tourists and even some locals, Australian English has only 10 years links with mother tongue. Our speech is prepared with words and phrases whose arcane meanings are understood only by the initiate. It is this colorful colloquialism that Australian slang said to truly explain. Traditional divisions of domestic work are understood to persist because of the strong association of the home with femininity and paid work with masculinity. To challenge who does what in the home is arguably tantamount to challenging what it is to be a woman or a man. Traditional divisions of domestic work are understood to persist because of the strong association of the home with femininity and paid work with masculinity. To challenge who does what in the home is arguably tantamount to challenging what it is to be a woman or a man. Injury or disease that afflicts a relatively small number of brain cells cause a chain reaction that stops activity across a vast network of neural circuits. According to new research, the study may help to explain why people can suffer from temporary but severe loss of cognitive function in cases of traumatic brain injury or disease. Injury or disease that afflicts a relatively small number of brain cells causes a chain reaction that stops activity across a vast network of neural circuits. According to new research, the study may help to explain why people can suffer from temporary but severe loss of cognitive function in cases of traumatic brain injury or disease. Current policy responses do not address the fundamental question of why so many mass shootings take place in schools. To answer this question, we need to get to the heart of how students experience school and the meaning that school have in American life. While some of these measures seem sensible, overall there is little empirical evidence that such security measures decrease the likelihood of school shootings. Current policy responses do not address the fundamental question of why so many Current policy responses do not address the fundamental question of why so many mass shootings take place in schools. To answer this question, we need to get to the heart of how students experience school and the meaning that schools have in American life. While some of these measures seem sensible, overall there is little empirical evidence that such security measures decrease the likelihood of school shootings.
The course will be tested at the end of the semester.
The course will be tested at the end of the semester.
The burning of fossil fuels leads to pollution and global warming.
The burning of fossil fuel leads to pollution and global warming.
The Generic Biology Technology Lab is located at the north wing of the library.
The generic biology technology is located at the north wing of the technology room. Thank you very much.
A renowned economist is selected to have a speech tonight at 8.
A renowned economist is selected to have a speech tonight at 8.
What distinguishes him from others is his dramatic use of black and white photography.
What distinguishes him from others with is his black color. Thank you very much.
Students will not be given credits for assignments submitted after the due date.
Student will not be given credit for the assignment submitted after the due date.
In consultation with your supervisor, your thesis is approved by the faculty committee.
In consultation with your thesis about the research, your thesis is approved by the researchers. Thank you very much.
It's time to finalize the work before the Wednesday seminar.
It's time to finalize the work before the Wednesday seminar.
Environmental friendliness is a new category in which campuses are competing.
Environment friendliness is a new category in which campuses are competing.
She is an expert of 18th century French literature.
She is an expert of 18th century French literature.
This science fiction novel uses advanced space technologies to create the setting.
This science fiction novel uses science fiction technology to create a views. Thank you very much. The image gives information about favorite type of movie. The primary feature of the image is comedy. Firstly, it shows data about people, and the primary feature of the image is people and is people. Firstly, it shows data about comedy and action. Further, the image gives information about favorite type of movie. Firstly, it shows data about comedy and action. The primary feature of the image is people. Furthermore, it conveys information about romance and drama. Moreover, it compares between science fiction and favorite type of movie. The highest movie is the romance. It is viewed by 6 people, whereas the lowest movie is viewed by in drama only by the 2 people. The maximum element is 10, whereas the minimum element is 2. To conclude, the picture is about favorite type of movie. The image gives information about main hall. The primary feature of the image is office. Firstly, it shows data about kitchen and male toilet. Furthermore, it conveys information about female toilet and handicapped. The image gives information about floor plan. The primary feature of the image is name of the different rooms. Firstly, it shows data about main hall and office. Furthermore, it gives information about kitchen and the office. Moreover, it compares between male toilet and female toilet. The highest element is main hall and the lowest element is handicap. To conclude, the picture is about male toilet and female toilet. The image gives information about family gathering. The primary feature of the image is dining table. Firstly, it shows data about men and women. Furthermore, it gives information about children and adult. The image gives information about family gathering. The primary feature of the image is dining table. Firstly, it shows data about vegetables and juice. Furthermore, it gives information about children and the parents. Moreover, it compares between men and women. In this image, I can also see the smile in the person. There is 3 girls and 2 men in this picture. The picture looks a very happy environment in the picture. This picture looks very happy. To conclude, the picture is about family gathering and the eating food.
At the top, you would have a king. Now, the king would rule over a kingdom. Now, this is not so easy to govern, especially during the Middle Ages, and the king might owe many people things, especially people who helped the king come to power, helped him depose the previous king or to conquer this land. And so, in exchange for that, and to help govern, he might grant land or fiefs to other people. And the key currency in the Middle Ages under the feudal system is land, and land in exchange for loyalty and service. So this whole thing is a kingdom. Now right over here, this is a duchy. And a duchy will be controlled by a duke. I guess they didn't call it duchy because that just doesn't sound as serious. So the king might grant a duchy to a duke, and in exchange, the duke would provide loyalty, pledge their fealty. If the kingdom is threatened, the duke will fight alongside the king, would provide their own troops. If the king wants to go conquer other territories, same thing, and also provide the king with taxes, which might be in the form of coinage, depending on what time and region we are in the Middle Ages, or it might be in the form of a percentage of the agricultural production from this duchy.
King rule was the main topic of the lecture. Firstly, the speaker told about king rule over kingdom. He further discussed about during the Middle Ages and conquering the land. Furthermore, he explained about grand land to other people. Additionally, he highlighted information about key currency is land. Moreover, he presented information about duchy was given to duke. Moreover, he presented information about conquering other territories. In conclusion, the speaker focused on taxes in agriculture production. Towards the end, the speaker said that loyalty taxes.
What do we call the selling and transporting of goods to another country?
Trading, foreign exporting.
Which organ is the blood pumped from?
Heart, lungs.
What do we call a person's move to a more important job or rank in a company?
Chief Executive Officer, CEO, Managing Director, promotion.
What do you call a difficult time when economic activities slow down and there are more people unemployed?
Recession, bankruptcy, recession.
Jack is having a presentation on Wednesday. Today is Tuesday. When will Jack have his speech? Today, tomorrow, or next week?
Tomorrow, today, next week. Tomorrow, today, next week.
What is the legal document protecting someone's intellectual property?
Paper certificate, land certificate.
As long as industrialized nations consume energy and developing countries increase their fossil fuel consumption, the concentration of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere will continue to rise. Researchers predict that temperature will increase about 2 to 10 degrees Fahrenheit by the end of the century. What's less certain is what rising temperatures mean for the planet. Some climate models predict subtle changes. Others forecast rising sea levels, which could flood coastal areas around the world. Weather patterns could change, making hurricanes more frequent. Severe droughts could become more common in warm areas, and species unable to adapt to the changing conditions would face extinction. Although much remains to be learned about global warming, many organizations advocate cutting greenhouse gas emissions to reduce the impact of global warming. Consumers can help. By saving energy around the house, switching to compact fluorescent light bulbs, and driving fewer miles in the car each week, these simple changes may help keep the Earth cooler in the future.
the golden age of American agriculture. Listen to part of a lecture in a history class. Then answer the question. We call the first 2 decades of the 20th century the golden age of American agriculture. What were the factors that made the period the golden age of American agriculture? Who can offer some reasons?
New strains of crops, improved farming methods, and what about greater use of pesticides and fertilizers?
Absolutely. Technical advances continued to improve productivity. The U.S. Department of Agriculture set up demonstration farms to show how new techniques could improve crop yields. In 1914, Congress created the Agricultural Extension Service to advise farmers and their families about everything from crop fertilizers to home sowing projects. The Department of Agriculture undertook new research, developing hogs that fattened faster on less grain, as well as fertilizers that increased grain production, new hybrid seeds that developed into healthier plants, treatments that prevented or cured plant and animal diseases, and various methods for controlling pests were all introduced around this time. Anything else?
Wasn't there also some kind of population boom around then?
Good. Farm prices were high as demand for goods increased and land values rose. However, the good years of the early 20th century ended following World War I. What was happening then?
Maybe a lot of people, women especially, were moving from the farm to the cities.
What
In animals, a movement is coordinated by a cluster of neurons in the spinal cord called the central contract pattern generator, or CPG. This produces signals that drive muscles to contract rhythmically in a way that produces running or walking, depending on the pattern of pulse. A simple signal from the brain instructs the CPG to switch between modes such as going from a standstill to walking. Finally, we take a look at how to mix and unmix liquids at the flick of a switch. Sandrine tells us more. Oil and water don't usually mix, but the new chemical sensitive to light has been added here to blend them together. When exposed to UV light, the chemical changes its structure and becomes soluble in water. This causes 2 layers to form with the oil floating on top of the water-chemical combo. This method should be cheaper than the current alternative, which involves using high-energy centrifuges.
Postmodernism is, broadly speaking, a reaction against the movement or the period, or perhaps simply the values and beliefs of modernism. Most people, even those who seem to know what it is or was about, tend to define it in negative terms by telling us what it isn't or doesn't do. Initially, the term had a fairly limited application and referred to a new anti-modernist style of architecture. But it spread like a virus to include almost all aspects of contemporary culture. One thing we can be sure about is that it wanted to get rid of what were called the grand narratives by which we explained how the world and history got us from the past to the present. Another feature of postmodernism is its belief that truth and reality are human-centred and internal. That is, the primary source of truth in the present age is the self. This, I believe, has now all passed and been thrown in the rubbish bin of history. Yet it is difficult to know whether the age of information technology confirms the passing of postmodernism or is a consequence of it.
Now, one of the workplace models I want to look at today is telecommuting. Done properly, telecommuting makes good business sense and companies can make huge savings on their overheads. It can also be a very effective lure to recruit quality employees, but companies need to plan ahead and create the right culture for it to work. It's not as simple as just giving everybody a laptop and sending them off to work from home. Management needs to look at training, security and communication issues before any kind of telecommuting agreement is entered into. Now, a key part of making it work is ensuring that every employee, and that's whether they're at home or in the office, has equal access to resources and, of course, promotions. The last thing you want is to create a kind of us versus them scenario. The arrangement breaks down quickly if people start feeling isolated or limited in their chances of moving up the ladder if they aren't physically in the office. There has to be foresight right from the start in the hiring process. It's vital to screen employees carefully to determine who will be able to prosper working away from the office. Some companies give personality tests to prospective workers, and they do them online or over the phone to see if they're comfortable with that type of setup.
So next Wednesday, you're all going to be doing your presentations. We'll have to be very strict about timing. 15 minutes each, not a minute more. It might make sense to do a practice run-through at home, but that's up to you. I'm going to ask you to put an abstract of your presentation on our course website, but I'd like you to do that after you've given your talk. Come with your slides on a memory stick. That's the most straightforward way of dealing with things, I think. Oh, and don't forget to bring handouts for everyone. There won't be time to do photocopying that morning. So, any questions?
Drums can be divided according to shape. Some of the types are tubular, vessel, and frame drums. One of the most common tubular drums is the long drum. A lot of long drums are cylindrical. They have the same diameter from top to bottom, like this Polynesian drum. This drum was carved from a length of tree trunk and has a single skin head. For vessel drums, we have the kettle drum. Kettle drums have a single membrane stretched over a pot or vessel body. Vessel drums come in a variety of sizes, from the very large drums of Africa to the very compact and portable drums, like this one from Hawaii. The third type I want you to see is the frame drum. A frame drum consists of one or two membranes stretched over a simple frame, which is usually made of thin.
Why do we have crime? When will it all stop? It's sad that there is so much crime in our society. It hurts so many people. Most people in the world just want to live happily and be good neighbors. Why do some people turn to crime? Money is a big reason. Many criminals pickpocket, steal, kidnap, or even kill people to get money. There are many terrible crimes in the world. Perhaps the worst is ethnic cleansing. This is a crime against humanity. Many people are killed because of their color or religion. People who commit this crime rarely go to prison. Have you ever been a victim of crime? What do you think we need to do to reduce crime rates? Perhaps you should write.
Iron is a great material for making tools, but the oldest known iron artifacts were actually intended for decoration, 9 Egyptian beads that date back to 3200 BC. And now we know that this ancient jewelry has an even more impressive origin. The iron out of which it was crafted came from space. The metal cylinders were discovered in Egypt in 1911. To analyze the structure and chemical composition of the beads, researchers bombarded them with neutrons and gamma rays. The tests revealed that the jewelry contained trace elements not present in earthly ores, but that are found in iron-rich meteorites. The study is in the Journal of Archaeological Science. The meteoric metal was hammered flat and rolled into beads more than 5,000 years ago. This date is some 1,500 years before the invention of smelting. That technique made it possible for terrestrial iron to be shaped into tools, and to supplant copper and bronze as civilization's metal of choice. The new finding shows that long before smelting revolutionized tool use, some humans were already Iron Men. Thanks for the minute. For Scientific American's 60-Second Science, I'm Sophie Bushwick.
There are many occupational hazards in space travel, but Russian researchers have discovered a new one, meaner bacteria. Scientists launched colonies of bacilli and E. coli into space, and found they undergo significant changes, and not good ones either. The bacteria became much more aggressive and started to eat spaceship components. Feed me! That's because they began to produce unusual enzymes, probably because of exposure to cosmic radiation and the lack of gravitation. The study on board the Mir and Photon 2 spaceships found that the changes occur even during short flights of 10 to 14 days. The bacteria change size and shape, and their DNA changes too. Some genes that are dormant on Earth switch on, producing the enzymes. The researchers think that it's also likely that the mutant bacteria could pose greater threats to astronauts, who already suffer from immune system problems in space. But there's one piece of good news. When the bacteria return to Earth, the aggressive traits vanish.
The ability to act on your own is called autonomy. Global connections thrive in academic communities thanks to social media.
You will be tested via continuous assessment and examinations. Many vocational courses in the institution are funded by private enterprises.